Was it good for you? Oh, Mace. Highlights, lowlights, 2023 season. It's over. But with
What a
every ending
strange year.
is a new
Long,
beginning.
strange trip it's been.
It has been a long, strange trip. Mason, feels like we went through 3 seasons of Broncos football, doesn't it?
Three
The start.
seasons of Broncos football. I feel like I went through a decade's worth of, you know, stuff, football, non-football, life,
Yeah.
things of that nature.
Oh, boy. Does it add up?
It's been eventful,
Yeah.
but fun.
It has been.
A lot to,
Yeah.
a lot to talk about, a lot to disseminate. It's been fun. How are
It
you?
is orange and blue today. It's best not to ask. Cecil, Lammey, Andrew Mason. But we're having fun on this show, and that's what matters, Mace, because we got highlights and lowlights from 2023. Got to talk about the game against the Raiders. They're number 12 right now. They're likely to move up. We got a bonus show for you today. Lots to get to, but just kind of your thoughts. How do we summarize this season?
It's funny because Justin Simmons last night after the game talked about how when he looked back in a decade that he felt like this season would be the start of something, right? That's entirely possible, but we don't know the answer to that. We're not going to know the answer to that until we see what ends up transpiring at quarterback, whether the Broncos go young in the draft, look for another option. Because if the Broncos don't get that right, then what progress they did make in terms of resilience, resourcefulness, improving the O line, improving the special teams, the progress they did make is going to be for naught.
Yeah, and we want that progress to build to something. We want hope for the future. And Mace, I guess I was disappointed you listened to the post-game show. Thank you for that. And I'm sure you like, comment,
I
shared,
had a
subscribed.
I had a long drive last night because I flew in and out of Phoenix because it was much
Oh boy.
cheaper than Vegas. So I'm driving through, rural Arizona, listening to you talk about how you still want Vance Joseph gone. And
Oh yeah, play the
uh,
hits, right? Play the hits or the
yeah,
misses, if, as that would be. But the disappointing thing for me, and you heard this last night, I want to get your thoughts. We didn't see some kind of springboard. I'll bring up At Perry, our guy that we saw at the Shrine game. You saw what he did in Week 18 for the
yeah.
Saints. So like, there's some the clues, the Willie Parker thing. Like, there's some clues you can get for next year. And I feel like the way this season ended, we didn't really get that, Mace.
Maybe a couple of them. I liked what Brandon Johnson did yesterday when he was out there. Um, that's one that we've seen it before, but being reminded of that and what he could do in a Sean Payton offense, what a route runner like him can accomplish, I think that's something to where you work him into your plans next year and you keep turning the page. I think we would have seen a little more of Jaleel McLaughlin if not for being evaluated for a head injury during the course of the game. That uh, he was trending to get plenty of work. I think that would have continued in the second half, even though the Broncos were behind 2 scores. But that went away. So yeah, there wasn't anything huge like that. But I mean, again, I would have liked to have seen them use some different players, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to have seen Riley Moss get some more run. Uh, with all respect to Fabian Moreau, what was the point of him being out there? I would have given Riley Moss a bunch of snaps.
Mm-hmm.
I would have found a way for JL Skinner to play more than one defensive snap. Did get out there for one.
Right.
Um, but again, part of it is you want to find out about players and you wanted to get something more out of that than I think you end up getting from that game.
Yeah, and I guess that's why it was inconsistent, because it's like, okay, if we're evaluating young players, then I get it, right? Oh, the Raiders beat you. Okay, whatever. But Riley Moss played forever and JL Skinner played forever. I like that. I like that. But we
Yeah.
didn't get that. And so, I've had fans in the chat be like, oh, these guys were checked out. They're thinking 1, 2, 3 Cancun. You were there, Mace. I didn't get that feel watching on TV that guys were checked out. I honestly don't know how to summarize yesterday other than disappointing.
I didn't get that feel at all, and I mean, I've got people saying, "Oh, that they They really went. They throttled it back a few weeks earlier. I did not get the sense that this team checked out before the end. I think the people say that it's a little bit of lazy analysis, respectfully to people who say that, because usually there are fundamental reasons, right? It's not that the Broncos in Detroit a few weeks ago. It's not that they weren't into it. It's not that they weren't mentally on point. It's that their defense did not have the personnel to cope with a Detroit Lions team that had so much speed, so many skill positions, and could basically force you into pick your poison mode. Yesterday, I thought things began breaking down up front. Did not have an answer for the Raiders pass rush. Cam Fleming has had some good games out there as a swing tackle for the Broncos the last couple of years. Yesterday was not one of them. That was a terrible game for Cam Fleming, unfortunately.
Right.
And then the other thing, Jarrett Stidham, you talked about it yesterday. He's a backup. He's not somebody who's going to be a long-term starter. The accuracy wasn't there like you wanted it to be. Clearly, the timing isn't there with Courtland Sutton at all. But he missed too many makeable throws, and he definitely broke down under duress in that game and couldn't find his way back to equilibrium. I think it just served as a reminder of why Jarrett Stidham, now 5 years into his career with 4 starts, Jarrett Stidham is basically a mid-level backup, and that's what all he is going to be long term.
Get a screen, right? He is who we thought we was. We
Yeah.
let him off the hook. Yeah. Speaking of court, super quick, because you were in the locker room yesterday. I was listening to the game and driving my daughter to the airport. Susie said when he had got hurt, he was not real happy. He didn't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
We didn't see Court today. Full
Mhm.
alert here on Monday, January 8th. Mason and I were both in the locker room. Hell of a day. We've got a ton to talk about. We didn't see Court. We had Justin here in the chat room say, did you say some final goodbyes to some guys? Maybe we did, and we didn't even know it. But I didn't get to say goodbye to Court. If it even is goodbye, Mace. Did you see him yesterday? Did he talk at all?
Did not talk at all yesterday. No. Um, you imagine this end of the season is frustrating for him because he did have a groove with Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
They were on the same page. He wasn't on the same page with Jarrett Stidham. I mean, it was interesting to watch the offense operate the last 2 weeks, but especially yesterday, in terms of which receivers were enhanced by more crossing routes, more intermediate stuff, more between the numbers. That meant some better opportunities for Jerry Jeudy, better opportunities for Brandon Johnson. And oh, by the way, a lot of opportunities for yards after the catch. Both touchdown passes thrown by Jarrett Stidham were yak monster plays. Something that we really were not seeing in the previous games. It was, throw it deep to Court and, hope that he can make a play. And he did that quite a bit. He had some spectacular touchdowns this year, particularly against the Chargers and in Buffalo.
Yeah.
It does make you wonder if Court's going to be on the trade block. And that's the thing. We don't know who we're saying goodbye to, but reading between the lines, Cease, I think the guys have been notified that changes are coming. Josey Jewell kind of alluded to it at one point.
He did. I'm glad you caught that because I was like,
Yeah.
oh, he kind of said some stuff.
Yes, he did. He very much did. Garett Bolles last week talking in terms of if I'm back, and everyone's saying they want to be back, but you get the sense that Sean Payton has told him, look, there are some changes coming here, maybe beyond the scope of what we're sitting here thinking about here on January the 8th.
What is the importance of continuity? We've got that sweet Josey Jewell footage from the locker room today, Mace, and he talked about it. And I know that in certain parts of the field, I want continuity. honestly, at inside linebacker, I don't know if I want that. I did ask Josey
Mhm.
Jewell about Drew Sanders. We'll play that on a later show
Mhm.
as Sanders continues his progress as an NFLer. But Josey Jewell talked on continuity. Where do you stand? Because for me, it's position group by position group. There's certain
Yeah.
groups I want continuity. There's other groups where it's probably time to move on.
I mean, it's at inside linebacker. It's interesting because clearly with Josey Jewell and Alex Singleton, they'll make a lot of stops. They clean up some messes as well, and they do work really well together. There's no doubting that. Um, but what they're lacking in coverage, basically, the question is, can you afford to have two players that have an awful lot of crossover on the Venn diagram skill set wise? Do you need to have another inside linebacker who is more proficient in coverage? I mean, shoot, they were hoping back in 2020 when they drafted Justin Strnad that he could be that guy. It hasn't worked out that way. He's become a very good special teamer, but they drafted him for coverage ability, which he did show when he was at Wake Forest, and it hasn't really blossomed here in the NFL to this point. So, as well as Singleton and Jewell work together, the Broncos may be thinking we need somebody next to Singleton who is a bit more adept in coverage, and then he becomes the player who stays out there in sub package downs. We saw a lot of Singleton staying out there and Jewell going to the sideline. Maybe they're thinking in different terms going forward here.
Right. Well, let's hear from Broncos inside linebacker Josey Jewell on the importance of keeping stuff together.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with that? And coach has talked about that a little bit. I love the continuity right now that we have with our team, especially with the defense. Everybody likes each other, honestly. There's no douchebags out there, so that's nice. It's hard to communicate with some of those guys when they are. So everybody loves each other in this locker room, and that's what's so great about it. And I think we can build some things, going on to next year.
I love the honesty. The final day in the locker room, Jerry Jeudy dropped some truth bombs. Josey Jewell dropping some truth bombs. Like no douchers out there. So there you go.
I wonder who those are.
When he said that, because he's got another comment we'll play later where he's like, there were some guys I used to not like, and I was like, huh, is it who I think it is? We won't say it on the air, but we'll gossip behind
I
the
have
scenes.
a suspicion when he.
Oh, I think I know.
Said that.
I think I know. I think I know for sure. So there you go. But
very
at
interesting
that spot,
person, I think, if we're thinking of the same person.
a very creative person, that's for sure. Behind the scenes, a somber day, Mace. Like it just is. You're going on 2 hours of sleep. We got snow and ice everywhere. I'm sliding off the road. Like, here we go. But inside that locker room, you felt a sense of like it was incomplete because they knew what they could have done and they didn't do it.
Yeah, and they knew that because they didn't do it, that the broom is going to come down the hall.
Yeah,
and it's going to be clear cutting. Look, you and I talked a lot about this heading into the season. That Sean Payton's first year was going to be about evaluation, finding out who's in and who's out, who's going to be a part of this program going forward and who isn't. Very similar to Bill Belichick's first year with the New England Patriots back in 2000. Okay, and the way this season went, I think the reality sort of settled in here at the end that there are going to be some significant changes because of how the season turned out. And look, I mean, could it have all been different? Yeah, I mean, you can look back at those early games against the Raiders and against Washington. At the same time, is this team really that close? Because when they had the 5-game winning streak, it was with an unsustainable run of takeaway luck, particularly fumble recovery luck. That was the thing. They literally had I believe it was a 4-game stretch where they had more fumble recoveries than any team in 16 years for a 4-game stretch, right? that tells you something right then and there. And of course, against Houston, the takeaway faucet turned off, and the Broncos limped home at 2-4.
And that's where we're at. And was it Alex Singleton that talked about how the guys go out to dinner together? It's like that group really likes each other, and that's probably where that feeling settled in, because it's like we like each other and it's not going to stay together.
Yeah, it's a definite sense of melancholy, right? That it was a good group, a group of people that liked each other, like Josey Jewell said, Alex Singleton said as well. And honestly, see, we're in the locker room enough to where we could see that, right? That this was a team that, for the most part, had a lot of dudes that genuinely liked each other. There were some long-term, lifelong friendships made on this team this year. And, those are going to remain, but a lot of these guys aren't going to be working together. It's probably not the worst thing for the Broncos organization as a whole, because look, it's 6 straight losing seasons now. But at the same time, doesn't mean you can't get a little bit sad and wistful about it. Because one thing that we heard from Josey Jewell, from Garett, Bolles, from Justin Simmons, the guys that have been around for a while, they want to be a part of getting this right. They've been through the bleeding. They want to be there for the success. They've had the bitter. They want to be around for helping make things sweet around here. But some of those guys may not have the opportunity.
Right.
And they can't, and understand, and it's understandable to be sad about that.
Yep. And sad talking to Caden Stearns. Again, I will tease a future show because, oh my God, some of the stuff he said today was heartbreaking. And then Greg Dulcich. We had a chance to catch up with Greg Dulcich. And again, I'm not going to say, it looked like he had been emotional, but you could tell just in talking to him, like how much this means to him and how frustrating it was for him to miss most of this season and then to get hurt because of bony feet and a cleat. And like,
I've never heard of that before.
I've never heard of feet that are too bony.
Don't feet have a lot of bones, just period? I mean, that just...
I think so, yeah.
Metacarpals, right?
Metacarpals and metatarsals, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's all very meta.
Would you like continuity in the tight end room? Because we didn't get a chance to catch up with Manhurts, although we thought about it. We know that Nate Atkins could be on the come up for that team. I think anything you get from Dulcich is just a bonus. And then Troutman, I assume, will be back. But it's like, okay, if we're talking continuity, we got to play the Greg Dulcich clip. But we also have to talk about, is that room good to continue with?
Yes. We also talked with Lucas Kroll as well, and we'll see how he factors. Yesterday came very close to having the kind of play that I think would have been a signature play for him on that deep post. And in baseball, you know about, like, you just have to tip the cap, right? Outfielder makes a great play, robbing you of a home run, tip the cap, right? That was a tip the cap moment against Lucas Kroll, but man, I do wonder what his feeling going into the offseason would have been if that pass lands in his grasp and he's got a touchdown. The game might have turned out differently as well. Broncos might be picking 14th instead of 12th.
Isn't that funny about this line? This league is so great and guys battle so hard, but that line is that thin between making that play and not making that play.
And the thing is, the Broncos were on the positive side of that line a bunch too this year. Remember, they went 8-9. They had a 5-game winning streak buoyed by takeaway luck, particularly fumble recovery luck. And oh, by the way, even though we're talking about an injury to Greg Dulcich, this was a team that had really good injury luck by and large compared to previous years, which is why you have to wonder, is this team really that close? But anyway, let's go back to Dulcich for a moment. Let's play that beautiful bean footage of him talking about his injury.
It was weird. It was just like of course it had to happen the week that I was, coming back to practice. Just some weird swelling. I, have unfortunately like some bony feet, and then my cleat just kind of irritated it in a really kind of freaky way. And yeah, it's a bummer.
It is a bummer.
It is. It's a bummer for him. And the thing is now with Dulcich, he's in a position where they would love to see him be a part of that tight end room, but are they making a plan around him being a primary part of that tight end room? I would say probably not. And even though, again, Lucas Kroll, oh so close, I'm not sure that Lucas Kroll and Greg Dulcich aren't fighting for one spot on the roster next year when they come back in, because there is some commonality in the skill set, and they certainly did get a look at Kroll, and like that play, that touchdown, that touchdown taken away, they're not going to hold that against him at all.
No,
they're going to look at him getting downfield. If anything, you'd have to say Jarrett Stidham probably hung the ball up a little bit too long on that throw. As I'm watching it, I'm thinking, boy, it just little too much air under that, right? I mean, dare I say, I wonder how Michael Penix Jr. would have made that throw. Yeah, I went there.
I came up with a name for our second show. Do you know what it is? OBT2.
Ah.
Okay. Whatever. It's okay.
Not After Dark or anything like that.
You love Orange and Blue Today After Dark.
Yeah, because I think we could find some different music for it. Like a, maybe like
Silky
a little
smooth.
saxophone or some,
Right.
a little some sexy music perhaps.
Where some Kenny G at, right?
I'll turn down the lights a little bit. That'd be a key thing, like darkening it a bit, darkening this room, and just having like just one little light shining and all that.
Right.
Yeah, we could make it work. I don't think you could make it work where you're doing your show, but I could make the lighting work here.
Yeah. Smoking jacket, right? Maybe a pipe. So.
Yeah.
There you go.
Anyway, but it's not really going to be after dark because we're going to run this thing early.
We got an extra bonus show for you today before the title game. So do the YouTube things, like, comment, share, subscribe. Hit the notification bell
so you never miss a vid.
That's right. And we'll be back tonight with an extra show for you about JJ McCarthy, who some fans really don't like. And then, of course, Michael Penix going head to head, what to watch for. We're going to break it down for you on Orange and Blue Today After Dark 2. I combined them.
I like that.
Anyway, he's Andrew Mason. You follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying OBT is a BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.